This week's portion, Vayeishev, continues the narrative of our patriarchs and matriarchs by focusing on the children of Jacob, namely the relationship among the brothers. But it includes a digression. We focus on Judah and his sons and his daughter-in-law in chapter 38 in the book of Genesis. And so the question is, as we read this story, because it comes right on the heels of the brothers selling Joseph to a caravan, and Joseph ends up with that caravan being sold to Potiphar, a man in Egypt, and he becomes a slave in Potiphar's house. But the question is, what does this story of Judah and his sons and his daughter-in-law have to do with the rest of the story? So on the one hand, as part of a family narrative, as most of Genesis is, it just adds more to the tragedy that is an integral part of the first family in Jewish history. And despite experiencing these tragic events, we learn from them being in the Torah about how people can overcome tragedy. But for the rabbis, the story is not just about a family. It is a metaphor for all of Jewish history itself. And so the story of Judah and his sons and his daughter-in-law Tamar, and I encourage you to read that again in chapter 38 of Genesis. The story then for the rabbis is all about Judah and understanding more about Judah because we are Jews named for the tribe of Judah. But it's also about the future king of Israel. This story of Tamar and the way in which, even though she is Judah's daughter-in-law, she tricks Judah into sleeping with her. The product of that relationship are twin sons, Peretz and Zerach. And Peretz, for the careful reader of the Bible, is by checking with the book of Ruth, Peretz is an ancestor to King David. So for the rabbis, chapter 38 is in the Torah in order to provide a story about the ancestry of King David. So by reading chapter 38 then, we read it in two different lights. We read it in the light of the narrative itself and the story and what we learn about a family relationship, or we read it in the eyes of the rabbis and see how this story has an impact in future Jewish history. But no matter how we read it, it is to provide us with lessons about how we can overcome issues that arise in our life. Shabbat Shalom.